Well, good morning. It's here. It's us. It's life with us, or whatever we're calling it now these days. Living with us. So we're happy to see you. It's
Hi, everybody.
we decided we're going to talk about donkeys today because we take them for granted, and we realize that most people have never seen a donkey. All the New Yorkers who come to visit donkeys carry little disinfectants to spray on their hands. But we have come to love them as being intelligent and loving and interesting. So I thought we would talk about it.
John said, why don't we talk about the donkeys? And I'm like, oh, the donkeys, it's like I see the donkeys every day, many times a day. I live with them and I just have gotten so used to it. But before meeting John and before meeting John and meeting the donkeys on his farm, I had never seen a live donkey. And the only I think connection that I had to donkeys was my aunt brought home from Italy a little donkey, a little gray donkey with big knees. That's all I kind of remember about it. And the donkey that was outside my window in front of my house growing up, which was, a cement donkey. So I didn't have really any connection with them either. And getting to meet them and getting to know them, it's been really a wonderful thing, but it's been so gradual, I think, that I don't even consider it anymore much. Except that when I'm out there with them, there's something very special about the connection that we have that I always feel like goes deeper and further back than just me and Fanny and Lulu, our donkeys, in this lifetime. I guess because humans have been around donkeys for so long. Maybe. You think?
Well, that gives me a chance to provide a little context, which is always one of my jobs here.
That is your job. That is your job.
We first got donkeys I got them before I even met Maria. Brought one up from Pennsylvania when I brought the sheep up, and the farmer gave him to me because he didn't want to feed them. My first donkey, Carol, was a character, and I had to give her shots because she was sick, and she tried to kill me repeatedly unless I had my Willie Nelson
played on the boombox. Right?
And when I came out with Willie Nelson, she loved me. It was purr like a cat. It ended up anyway. She died, so I needed to get another one, and that didn't want them to be alone, so we got two. That's another story about a woman who claimed she was a Jewish donkey spiritualist, which you do not expect to hear in upstate New York.
Really, most places.
Most places. My relationship with the donkeys was more transactional than Maria's, because I got them really as part of to guard the farm. They're guard animals, which most people don't know, and they ferociously protect anything. So we've never had an incident with coyotes or anything else when the donkeys are around. Then Maria came into the picture, and she has a whole different view of them. Obviously, she fell in love with them, and they fell in love with her, and it was a much more emotional relationship than I had, and it's just often the case around here, and. Looking at her was my first look into how people can talk to animals, because to see them communicate is still a miracle to me. She sits down next to them, they put their heads next to her, and you can almost see words coming out of them. They talk, not in words, of course, but in their feelings. They really know each other. They trust each other. They know when she wants to say hello to them, when she doesn't. And when they want attention, they just come up and bump their butts against her, and she gives it to them.
Or you.
Or me. And I'm pretty close to them too, but not quite the same way. Because I always was coming out with the dogs to herd the sheep, doing business, so I didn't form quite that kind of relationship with them, although it's not nice now. I mean, whenever Lulu sees me, she neighs, and I give her alfalfa treats. 15 years I've been doing it every day.
And Fanny is always right. Fanny just loves John, and she's always right there. Even if I'm brushing her or something, and you come in, she'll go and nudge you and want you to scratch her.
And if I don't scratch her, she'll take her head and bang it into my butt.
She does. They do that.
Would be happy to knock me over or knock me down or whatever. But and then they just present themselves for attention, and when they're done, they leave. And they don't want to be your best friend, donkeys have a rich history of being abused, so they're very wary of getting commands. They tend to only do what they feel like doing, and it has to be their idea. But Maria has broken through a lot of these barriers because donkeys usually are not that friendly, or often are not that friendly. They're the sweetest animal. I think they're the smartest animals that we have at this point, wouldn't you say?
I would say so, although I think Zip,
Zip is
right
moving
up
up
there.
fast there, yeah.
I
that's
think
true.
Zip is up there. Well, they do remind me of each other, cats and donkeys. They have that kind of independence, but they also, want to be around people also, or they want to be around the people they want to be around. Everyone isn't presented equal
No,
to them.
no, it's got to be
So-
their idea.
Yeah, and I think also. I just lost my train of thought. What I was going to say.
Well, I want to
about
ask you,
donkeys.
so what are you saying to them? I've been still wondering that.
Sometimes I just listen. It's more about just listening. It's more about just opening myself up to them and listening. And it's not a thing about words. It is more feeling, and it's something. It is a feeling that passes between us. And it's a feeling in so much as that I really don't have words for it, which makes it difficult to talk about. Every once in a while, I'll get images. I remember one time it was very cold out, and I was standing next to Fanny and thinking, oh, she must be so cold. And I got an image of her bones, like her skeleton, bones under her skin, and the sense that she wasn't bothered by the cold. And I don't even know how to make
Well,
that.
it's feeling. You're
You know what I
communicating
mean?
through feelings, right?
That's the words
And
I
images.
have for it, which it comes in images, and that thinking came along with it. I don't know, I don't know how that works, but that's it's that kind of thing that happens. And I didn't really understand that it was going on until I saw those pictures that you took of me. And I thought, oh yeah, there is something going on. Because I think it was a gradual thing, and I think it just started to happen. And I just kind of, took it for granted or something, or didn't think about it.
Well, you have a great gift for communicating with animals. Sheep too. The sheep come up and snuggle with you and put their heads on your shoulder and try to eat your earrings. And you're very tolerant about them. You're very affectionate. You call them by name. They know their names. They look at you and they want something. You know how they're feeling. You're very alert to if their toes are okay, or now they have a little skin blotch, and you're getting medicine and treating them. So it's a tremendous evolution. I really got them for a practical reason, to guard the farm, and did become very fond of them. But with you, it's a whole different experience. And when you go out, they follow you, unless they don't want to follow you.
Well, they definitely let me know what they want and what they don't want.
You're having a little
are
feud with
willing
them
to
now
do.
about with the pastures, what you
But
tell them.
they don't want to go into the back pasture in
All
the
of a sudden.
morning, and it's like, so they'll stand at the barn and bray, or they'll go to the gate they want to go to and stand at the gate and bray
stare at
there
you, and stare at you.
stare and say, "Come on, open the gate for me." And every once in a while I give in. Sometimes I give in, and sometimes I don't.
We both have a habit of giving in.
Sometimes it's like, look, you must not be that hungry if you don't want to, come back here and eat. The sheep are back here. But it's definitely it's an ongoing thing, and it's not just one thing. And I'm not a hard ass, really. I mean, I can be about some
really?
things, but
You're not a hard ass with bugs either, and spiders. You love them all.
But also, the donkeys are bigger animals, and so you have to be able to have a certain amount of control over them. Otherwise, they can hurt you. I mean, they're not huge animals, but they're
very strong.
They're
They're
big
very
enough,
strong.
and they're very strong. So if they don't want to do something, the other day, which this hasn't happened in a long time, John was standing at the gate, and the gate was open, and Lulu just wandered out into out of the barnyard, which again hasn't happened in a long time. She did it so quietly. I mean, I think she walked right past you, and you didn't
She
even
stood right
know
behind
it.
me.
Just didn't even know it. They're so quiet. And then so she's out, and Fanny's still in.
She wanted the grass. There was grass in it.
Because the grass out on the other side in the yard is, of course, luscious to them. So when you get to know donkeys, so you get to know what they're going to do. Now, Lulu is not going to, first of all, she's not going to want to be out there by herself with Fanny on the other side of the gate. And if you have to be very calm. I got some treats, so I had some carrots, and just called her back very calmly. And if you get excited and if you try and, put a rope around her neck and pull her, it's not going to work. They're so much stronger than we are. But if you, just gently say, come on, Lulu, come on. And, Fanny's inside, she's going to come. I think a part of it is knowing them, knowing what they'll do and what they won't do. And John was behind her. She was right at the gate. John was behind her, gave a little tap on the butt, and she went whoop, and she went right into the gate, and they both got carrots, And I was feeding Fanny carrots, saying, "Oh, Fanny gets carrots," that kind of thing. Once you come in the gate, and she knows what's going on, and it took maybe not even 5 minutes to get her back in.
And if you're going to be on a farm, you know that sooner or later some of these animals are going to get out. Or cows, this happens all the time. You see cows in the road, whatever.
Right.
It's just part of life here. And but I think Lulu, I think, who I've known for 15 years, has a special bray for me. When I pull in the driveway or something, or walk outside, it's a soft John bray that I don't ever hear her use. It's just a different one from Maria, louder and clearer. And so I would go and give her a treat, alfalfa piece, and I would say to her every time, "You're not getting this every day." So every day for 15 years, she's been getting it. And she does the same thing. She'll put her head out and look kind of sweet, which she's not normally, and stares at me, and I go and give her another treat. And
it's like a little nickering sound,
and
right?
I say,
like
yeah, and you're not going to get any more. You're not going to do this every day. But I can't resist it. I mean, she looks at me with those big brown eyes and has a John Bray. Very smart, smarter than me for sure. And we don't have any other animals like that. I've never known any other animals like that. We love Simon, of course. It was a different story.
Yeah, Simon was a whole different story.
It's a whole different story. But it is a great addition to the farm. It gives a great character. And we both love, I think it's fair to say we both love having them.
Yeah, and now Braden comes and brushes the donkeys once a week.
And they love him.
And the last time he was here, he was brushing Zinnia. We're standing outside the gate. And all of a sudden, the donkeys were, wherever they were, they just appeared. Once again, they were so quiet. And I said, "Look who's behind you." And Braden turned around, his grandmother turned around. They were like, "Oh, we didn't even hear them. They're so quiet." But they know. And so now they know he's going to brush them. And so they present themselves, like you say.
And they tend to be very affectionate to anyone holding a carrot. Which they can spot.
Although
they didn't know he had one.
If people are abrupt, or they move too quickly, things like that. There are certain people that they will not take a carrot from, even if they don't feel right about them.
That's an important thing to mention. I wrote about a book about donkeys when I wrote about Simon, and in researching them, these are animals who are by far the most abused animals on the earth. They're overworked. They're treated. They're treated horribly in many countries of the world, and they have grown up to be very wary of what you're asking them to do. If they're okay with it, they'll be happy to do it. If they don't feel safe about it, nothing will get them to do it. And they have this ability to read situations. They will look at people, and if they're looking at somebody I don't like, they won't go near them, or Maria doesn't like, and they take cues from us. If we're obviously friendly with them and talking to them, then they'll sidle over for some attention. But they're very, very smart. I would say they're smarter than dogs. Dogs live to please you. Donkeys live to please themselves and will love you if they need to get some food. And they can be very affectionate, but that's not what's driving them. And when they get the scratching they want, they walk away, leave me alone, don't bother me. And I find that's a little bit like cats. I think that's one of the...
I think they are like cats in that way.
Bud's the same way. He'll sit in my lap.
And you like that.
I do like that.
I kind of like that too. I don't want someone like fussing over me all the time, bothering me all the time. I'm not into that.
But the great demonstration, I guess our time is close, but the great demonstrations I see every day, Maria goes out and chooses which pasture they're going to go to. We do a rotational grazing. And they stand there and watch her. And they don't run, usually animals will freak out and get panicky or run you over. They stand there and wait very patiently. One or two of them comes up for a nuzzle. She'll kiss them on the nose. And then she'll walk to the pasture. Once they see where she's going, they'll very calmly fall into line behind her, like kids in a classroom being told by the teacher to line up. And then they walk in. There's no excitement. There's no running over anybody. I was worried about it because Maria is, shall we say, smaller than some people. And was vulnerable to being run over, I thought. Got to be careful. It's no danger whatsoever of that. None of them would do that to her. And she knows their names and checks their health and marches them out. And then when she comes into the end of the grazing, they just walk out behind her and let her close the gate. They don't put up a fight. They don't struggle.
Every once in a while, the donkeys, especially in the
the
beginning of the
donkeys,
season,
yes.
the donkeys will, will
donkeys
balk
are a
about,
separate-
about coming in.
right.
But you were talking about the sheep.
Yeah, donkeys will definitely give you a hard time if you have them do something they don't
But
really
you know,
want.
as the season goes on, now as soon as I walk into the pasture, for the most part, they just start walking out, and they know the donkeys get a treat when they get into the other pasture. So we've
And if
kind of
not,
worked
you
it
march
out.
out behind them,
I march. I go
usually
out
holding
behind
a
them.
treat, and you just kind of put your arms
I put
out,
my arms out, and they walk.
and they walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that,
Sometimes I'll clap my hands if they're
I
very.
can tell you, that's
they're
not
very
always
busy.
the way they behave.
No.
I was
Yeah.
alone on the farm, they would break out like
And they
once a
could,
week.
and they don't have to go to the gate, but they do. I mean, they don't have to, but they do.
I'll close with this one anecdote. When I first met them, they would break out. They learned how to undo the latch, and God knows they had tools. And I would start running after them, and they would run away from me. I'd go back and forth until I was ready to drop. Then I thought about it, and I asked the farmer about it, and he said, "Oh, don't run after them. Ignore them, and they'll get pissed off and come right back." And I thought, as they would take off looking for something, and I'd just walk into the house. And 2 minutes later, they'd be at the gate, like, well, let us in. They don't want to be
They
out
don't
there.
really want to be out
they don't,
there.
They
They
just
don't
want to
really
break
want to
your
be
chops
out
if
there.
they can do it. And it took me a while to get that. That's a good example of how donkeys behave. It's their idea, and they want to come in. It's your idea, they're not coming in. So anyway,
I do that too when I want to get them into the barn for whatever reason they need to come into the barn.
I thought you were going to
just
say you
act
do
like-
that too when you want something.
When I want something with John, I do the same,
The same thing.
I just pretend. Well, I'm just in the barn, and I'm just.
And I come running, what's the matter? What's the matter?
And then I put John in the barn. And so it all works out well. Okay, we should
That's
stop
the
now.
story. That's good. Time to move along. All right. Well, this was good. This was a lot of fun. We thought it was a good subject with all the craziness going on.
Yeah, just
To do something that wasn't so loaded or heavy.
right. Just something.
So I hope
kind
you
of fun and
enjoyed it.
different.
Hope you enjoyed it.
And we'll see you next week.
See you next week, and thank you
Bye.
for coming.